recognizing Euphoria and then also this idea of sacrificial lambs. And so, with that being said, Neo is one that I recognized Euphoria in the stock based on the number of views on the video. So over here, I made a video. I started doing more all caps. Those seem to be like performing well. But like if you scroll back here, this is a Neo playlist. You can look at all of my Neo videos, how wrong I've been. Sometimes I've been right, whatnot. But yeah, I mean, in the past, I've gotten some videos with a lot of views, but usually less than like 1,000. But then let's see, this one's nearly 1,000. This one's like 1.6 thousand. Neo just broke out, looks bullish. But then views kind of drop to like 400, 500, and then from there goes to 1.9 thousand. So that's a lot for me. And that's talking about squeeze. And, so I saw how many views that was getting, and I started to think, well, maybe it's topping, maybe it's starting to lose momentum because, or maybe I'm not seeing something that, I think this is going to continue, but maybe that's just my euphoria translated into this video. And so I was surprised by the number of views. And then I saw some data that I went over in the following video. In Unusual Whales, I noticed that there were some last minute selling of calls, down 13 million, down 9 million. I believe September 22nd and 23rd. I just went over that in today's video. And since I saw that, I said, well, hey, I just put out this video, got a lot of views. I need to follow up on it and kind of warn people that it's possible it's going down to the 5s before it goes to 10. And I got a lot of hate for this video. Somebody blocked me on X. People were just, insulting me in the comments. And, that started to make me think that, hey, well, I started to recognize that there's some euphoria. And now that I'm just like pointing it out and showing data that suggests that whether or not people are betting it's going to 550, they're no longer long. And so it could just like consolidate before it goes up, or it could consolidate before it comes down. And, all of that pushback that I was getting following the euphoria made me, or recognizing the euphoria, made me appreciate that I was actually seeing euphoria. And so I started to, try to dial it back. So I did a follow-up going over how, Max Payne's ticking higher. It could be going higher, but got less views because, the momentum started to die down. And I start to see it kind of like weaken. And so I'm talking about that. I talked about that in today's video. And so I think that this has been like a nice example of recognizing euphoria. So whenever you're watching my videos, check the viewer count. If it seems abnormally high, that could be a sign that it's either euphoria, pretty much euphoria, because people go crazy at the tops. They watch a lot of videos at bottoms. If I'm spot on, nobody's going to watch those. And so if you see a video that has abnormally low views, Mara videos have had abnormally low views, and I've been pretty spot on with that stock. And so if you see something that's got like, hopefully the number of views goes up. I get better at doing this as I practice. But if you see something with abnormally large amount of views, maybe that's a topping signal. If you see something with abnormally small amount of views and it seems like, it's boring, it's at a bottom, that could be, a good signal that something's about to move, especially if I seem really convicted in the video. I try to be expressive in these, but if there's something that seems really crystal clear to me, I think that, you can kind of see that I am compelled by what I'm talking about if it's really, standing out to me. And also check the comments, see what people are saying. That could be a sign of people being overly emotional or, whatever, or if everybody's way too far on one side, not on the other, maybe the market's going to do the exact opposite. So I do think that's a pretty good indicator for, like recognizing euphoria, and to, kind of follow up on that, to mention that playlists, I do have some more of them over here in another kind of Euphoria recognition that I recently had was actually on Mara. I just created this playlist. A lot of these are older playlists, so you could go look at the videos with the most recent ones at the top, and then you can just like scroll back in time and just see all of them. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. I'm going to be coming up to the 100 video AMC video anniversary, so that's pretty insane. Also have a lot on Plug and Neo, but I wanted to talk about Mara. And so let's just view this quick playlist here. This is one where, I'm just pulling this up now. This video only got 25 views. And, it's Mara breaking out retest and launch or just launch. I'm not exactly sure, so I'm posing it as a question. But if we look at that, if we see on the thumbnail that little doodle that I have there in the right shoulder of that right inverse shoulder, we can look at that over here. And basically, I mean, it didn't happen exactly as I had doodled it there, but we did go up. And we actually came up to this trend line level, which I possibly drew up in this video, or it might have been this one. It might have been during a stream. Let's see, where was I at? Over here. With that trend line, I added that during a video, going back over to here. And in that video, I kind of recognized like, well, hey, it kind of seems like it's testing that. This was on a Tuesday, so I did some streams recently in October, so it might have been just like one of the daily streams. And yeah, I mean, that seemed to wick up to a high on October 14th of $22.98. And so that's like getting right up to that trend line. And then the next day, if I just zoom in here so we can see it a little better, we get kind of this spinning top. And with that, I was contemplating, like, I have some Mara calls and Mara shares. I also have some IBIT calls, but no IBIT shares. IBIT is the Bitcoin ETF. And I was thinking, well, I don't have any IBIT shares, so I don't want to sell those calls, especially because like Mike Alfred, was talking about IBIT. And so I'm kind of compelled by that. I didn't sell those, which I'm probably going to end up losing money on. The reality, whatever, they expire in a few weeks, but that's how it goes. I should have taken profits then. And since I didn't, and since I was also holding Mara shares, I thought, well, hopefully, Mara breaks above this. Hopefully Bitcoin continues to go higher. But if it doesn't, I'm just going to hold the IBIT contracts because I don't have any shares. But I'll sell the majority of my Mara calls. And so at open on the 16th, I checked it today just to make sure it was the date. I sold all but one of my Mara calls on October 16th at open, right before we had this over 11% down day, still holding my shares, but it did bleed some from there. And so that was another great time for me in recognizing Euphoria, but I should have acted on it with my IBIT because those contracts expire sooner than Mara. And also, I hold Bitcoin. So like, why do I need to worry about not holding IBIT when I hold Bitcoin? And I'm stacking Bitcoin. And so I should have acted on that. I didn't. And so that was a nice, probably going to end up being a hard lesson for me in recognizing that this was a top and that it was a good time to sell. I'm glad I acted on half of my position, but that kind of also got me thinking about, let's see, where am I at on the list here, about, IBIT. And also, actually, I'll get into that in a second. So let's come over here to this post. This is from Wyckoff Analytics. And so I might just zoom in here so maybe we can see it a little bit better. And you can follow them. Here's their info if you're interested in following them on X. But they had this post. I was leaving work on Thursday. And, they mentioned, you could take fewer positions than you think you need to take and still change your life. And for me, whether it's calls, any kind of options contracts or shares, I like to have at most 20 positions. That doesn't include crypto and stuff like that, like crypto coins and stuff. But that's just like, I found that that's like a nice number for me to be able to manage. And because of ASST, I had actually gotten more than 20. And so this got me thinking, maybe I should take some profits on some positions. What positions could I take profits on? And I should also note that this was followed up by Christopher Inks, somebody who I am aware of due to him being a guest on Scott Melker's The Wolf of All Streets. And yeah, so he's another person, a great analyst, a great person to follow on X. And he also does have a program. I think both of these accounts have programs where you can, pay and, get whatnot from them. But yeah, respectable accounts. And Christopher Inks follows up with, this is the gold, but most retail market participants, so that would be you and me, are so focused on the opposite that they'll never understand it. And so there was just, a little follow up there. A handful of good positions a year can change your life. So can a handful of good positions per day. But allow your stress tolerance to decide for you. Everybody's different. And so to many traders, try to force too many traders try to force their entire personality to shift and change to suit what everyone else is doing. I think that we're all kind of guilty of that, especially YouTubers, influencers, whatever. I try to not be. But build your trading about who you are as a person. It's all individual. I talk a lot about emotion and psychology. I just find that stuff to be really interesting. And, kind of the identifier of euphoria is really like a personal or an emotional response by other people. And then so continuing on here, a few trades a year can do that for you. So, got to do what works for you. And so this kind of got me thinking about that experience that I had with Mara not selling my IBIT. And I started to think, well, what are some of the positions that I'm green on? And let's see, I'll just zoom out on this. This is a repost from Tom Lee. And, this is Who Man saying, breaking, chaos erupts in a quiet Long Island neighborhood as Tom Lee of Fundstrat Global Advisors flees a mob of angry Bitmine bag holders. And you can see it there. It's, just a joke. It's funny. But, people do, really overreact when things go down. But Bitmine was one of my positions that was in the green. And I started to think about kind of the analogy between like Tom Lee and Michael Saylor, Ethereum, Bitcoin, ETFs, all of that. And it's like, well, I should have sold my IBIT calls because there's an expiration date that might cause some problems for me. And also, I hold Bitcoin. So I am long IBIT by holding Bitcoin. And same with like Michael Saylor. I am long Michael Saylor, even though I don't hold any strategy or any of the equities funds that they have. The 4 of them that exist now. If maybe I phrased that incorrectly, but I still believe in Michael Saylor, but I do that not by holding strategy, but by holding Bitcoin. And so just like Tom Lee, like I held a little bit of Bitmine, but it was in the green and I didn't know Thursday if things might continue to go down. And so I thought, well, I'm still long Ethereum. I also have SBET. I don't think it'd be that big of a deal if I just sold my Bitmine and, didn't have to worry about that. And then I also sold my one remaining call on Mara. And, those were kind of like my sacrificial goats because there has to be, what's it called when everybody gives up in the, let's look at the market cycles. I'm going to have to pull it up, market psychology chart. And so over here, where you have capitulation, that's the word I was looking for. And so I kind of thought that, this is a moment where I think it's probably the bottom, but I'm just going to, release my sacrificial goats, my sacrificial lambs, sorry. that's fine. They're in the green. I made money with them. But if it does go lower, I have some extra cash on the side. And, it's like praying to the market gods, the stonk gods, whoever they are. And so I did that. And whoa, that guy, whoa, look at, I don't know if you saw that. He almost fell off that roof there. Whoa. I have to be honest, I haven't even really watched the video. I jumped off there. That's crazy. But yeah, I mean, I am still long Tom Lee. I'm still long Ethereum, but really because of this thread here, I decided to just trim my portfolio a little bit. And I don't think I'm going to regret that because I, sleep better at night and all of that.